The following program has been funded in part by the Wyoming Arts Council.
Hi, I'm Diane Corsick.
And I'm Bill Boycott.
We are the Grizzlies, a music duo from Lander, Wyoming. A few years ago, we were inspired to create a program in celebration of Wyoming's centennial.
Wyoming History Through Song provides an overview of Wyoming history from prehistoric times to the present, utilizing original music, narrative, and slides of historical paintings and photographs.
Thanks to the generosity of many people throughout the state and country, we are pleased to welcome you to Wyoming History Through Song. Wyoming, before Wyoming, when the land knew no boundaries. Precambrian, 4 billion years of wind blowing, wind crashing. Paleozoic, 375 million years of oceans. Waves, quiet waves. Mesozoic, seas withdrew, dinosaurs abundant. Seas transgress, regress. The Rocky Mountains begin to rise. Cenozoic, hot, very hot, internal heat. Earthquakes grinding. Volcanoes release great amounts of ash. Intense volcanic activity in Yellowstone. Tetons, last of the Rockies, are formed. The Ice Age, glaciers carve, scrape, repeating rivers of ice. Rivers of ice become rivers of water. First humans appear in Wyoming, before Wyoming.
Once we roamed across the prairies and the valleys, as our four-legged brothers grazed the plains. Bow and arrow hunt the sacred buffalo, long before the white man came. There was peace through the prairies and the valleys. Our ponies moved swift along the plains. Many teepees were set along the hillside, long before the white man came.
5 major Indian tribes have influenced the history of Wyoming: Arapaho, Shoshone, Crow, Cheyenne, and Sioux. As settlers moved westward, conflicts arose between the red and white man. Soon, the life of the Plains Indian would be changed forever.
I have cried out, grandfathers, hear me. The great spirit that moves through all things. Make our earth like the land before our fathers. Long before the white man came. Long before the white man came.
20,000 years ago, The Paleo-Indians, the ancient ones, inhabited the land we now know as Wyoming. As the climate of North America changed from cool to hot, many of these early peoples left the area. And as the climate changed again, they returned to the desert.
The Spanish brought the first horses to North America, influencing the nomadic life of the early Indian nations. Most of the tribes became hunters of the buffalo, following the bison as they grazed the prairie.
As white explorers pushed westward, conflicts arose between the red and white men, and reservations and treaties were established to help solve these conflicts. Today we are still faced with many challenges, but it is our hope that we will continue to live side by side in peace with our Native American brothers and sisters.
In 1804, President Jefferson sent Lewis and Clark to explore new land west of the Mississippi. A man by the name of John Colter was on that expedition.
And although Lewis and Clark never made it to Wyoming, John Colter returned a few years later as a fur trader. Many people believe that John Colter was the first white man to begin exploring the land we now know as Yellowstone National Park.
As news of the new frontier spread, more mountain men came to the Rocky Mountain area, and beaver hats became the style for many rich Easterners.
The trapper's life is a hard, hard life. Spend lots of time in the mountains, where laws are made with a gun and a knife, and the one who wins keeps a-walking. That's the way life is in the mountains. John Colter came west with Lewis and Clark. He's known as the first mountain man. Yellowstone and Colter's hell. He became the first white skin to explore this strange, strange land. As the Rockies showed its beaver wealth, there were more who came to the mountains to make a best of a living out west, with the beaver plumes abounding. Some Indians feared for the mountains. The Blackfoot tribe was a hostile tribe who hated all white men dearly. You were better off dead than be captured alive, for they'd slowly cut you into pieces. The fear in this land never ceases. Spring and the fall were the trappers' best, 'cause the furs were rich and full. The summer was spent at the rendezvous, where the trapper would trade in his blues for the year's supplies he'd use. Jedediah Smith was another white man who trapped in the Wind River Mountains. He established South Pass across the Rockies out west. He was the first to cross the Sierra Nevadas. He pioneered the way to California. Trapping lasted best for 15 years, till the beaver
lost its value. Men like Jim Bridger and Kit Carson quit and decided to guide for a living, bringing Easterners west to Wyoming. The trapper's life is a hard, hard life. Spend lots of time in the mountains, where laws are made with a gun and a knife, and the one who wins keeps a-walking. That's the way life is in the mountains.
As Easterners explored and settled the West, various routes of travel were established across the plains and into Wyoming. The Overland Trail became a route for the stagecoach, and those seeking gold to the north established the Bozeman Trail.
While others, hearing of rich farmland and good climate, headed west to the Oregon and California coastline. Native Americans had already discovered and developed a comfortable way of life there.
And a challenge agreement was made between England and the United States to see who could settle that area the quickest. Missionaries forged their way along the Oregon Trail because they realized the number of potential converts.
Sweet Betsy from Pike, written in 1858, describes life along the Oregon Trail through Wyoming.
Now do you remember Sweet Betsy from Pike, who crossed the big prairie with her lover Ike, with 2 yoke of oxen and a large yellow dog, a tall Shanghai rooster and 1 spotted hog?
Well, on the Oregon Trail they decided to go, but the oxen did struggle the wagon too slow. Ike said,
"We seem loaded with way too much junk."
so next to the trail lies a dresser and trunk. 'Twas early one evening they camped on the Platte. 'Twas next to the road on a green shady flat.
Way off in the distance, a fast-traveling horse. Why, it's a Pony Express with a mailbag, of course.
Now do you remember Sweet Betsy from Pike, who crossed the big prairie with her lover Ike, with 2 yoke of oxen and a large yellow dog, a tall Shanghai rooster and 1 spotted hog?
Well, it's on to Fort Laramie, Fort William once called. Indians in teepees lived outside the walls. Supplies soon replenished, Ike heard tales of gold. So on the Bozeman Trail north he intended to go.
But Betsy said,
"Ike, you go north and we're through."
So on the Oregon Trail they continued to move,
but the wagon broke down with a terrible crash.
and out on the prairie rolled all kinds of trash. Now do you remember Sweet Betsy from Pike, who crossed the big prairie with her lover Ike, with 2 yoke of oxen and a large yellow dog, a tall Shanghai rooster and 1 spotted hog?
Independence Rock, everyone carved their name, but Ike was illiterate and he felt so ashamed.
So on they continued with Split Rock in view, slowly over the South Pass on to Fort Bridger too.
They soon reached the desert where Betsy gave out,
and down in the sand she lay rolling about,
while Ike, half distracted, looked on with surprise, saying,
"Betsy, get up, you'll get sand in your eyes."
Now do you remember Sweet Betsy from Pike, who crossed the big prairie with her lover Ike, with 2 yoke of oxen and a large yellow dog, a tall Shanghai rooster and 1 spotted hog?
The Iron Horse was the Indian name for a white man's dream come true. President Lincoln and General Dodge had a dream of building a railway across our nation from coast to coast.
As many of you know, Lincoln was shot in 1865, but the dream lived on, and the Transcontinental Railway was completed in 1869. Many nationalities helped to build the railroad,
And the Irish and Chinese rivaled to see who could lay the longest stretch of track in the shortest amount of time.
In the 1860s, a dream was made to boast, to build a railway across our nation from coast to coast. Two companies set out to do their best. Central Pacific worked eastward while the UP worked west. Union Pacific laid tracks through Nebraska fast, but their job through Wyoming would be a different task, 'cause the Rocky Mountains stood right in the way. But the workers may have sang a song to pass the time of day, 'cause they're working on the railroad. Yeah, they're working on the railroad. For every spike that's driven closer to the western coast, 'cause they're working on the railroad. Yeah, they're working on the railroad. For every spike that's driven closer to the western coast. Cheyenne, the magic city of the plains, it sprang up like magic, a home on the western range. Laramie, Gem City came to be as the workers traveled westward through the mountains and the trees. Now there were towns that came, but they would not last. Sherman, Bryan, their town became ghost towns of the past. Still the numbers in Wyoming grew, and so the dreams of a territory and statehood too, 'cause they worked on the railroad. Yeah, they worked on the railroad. For every spike that's driven closer to the western coast, 'cause they're working on the railroad. Yeah, they're working on the railroad. For every spike that's driven closer to the western coast. Now, because of the railroad, there were many towns that came to southern Wyoming. Evanston, Rock Springs, Green River, Rawlins, all established strong communities. Carbon County supplied the coal that helped run those trains, as the railway workers sweated every day just to make their gains. Then on May 10th, in 1869, in Promontory, Utah, a connecting of the lines, a golden spike was driven on that day to help complete the Transcontinental Railway, 'cause they worked on the railroad. Yeah, they worked on the railroad. For every spike that's driven, we're closer to the western coast, 'cause they're working on the railroad. Yeah, they're working on the railroad. For every spike that's driven, we're closer to the western coast. For every spike that's driven,
It was not until 1852 that cattlemen slowed their journey enough to begin settling in Wyoming. By 1869, the territory included more than 97,000 square miles of land without fences.
Large cattle companies were formed. Many of the owners became very powerful lawmakers. And then fences did appear, ranches became evident, and cowboys became the worker of the prairie, developing a mystique and magical myth that is still evident today.
This next song is called Get Along Little Dogies, but we also sing about another animal in the song, and that is the woollyback. You may know him better as the sheep.
As I went a-walking one morning for pleasure, spied a cow-puncher a-riding along. His hat was throwed back, his spurs were jingling, and as he approached me, he was singing this song. Whoopie-tie-I-oh, get along, little doggies, it's your misfortune and none of my own. Whoopie-tie-I-oh, get along, little doggies, know that Wyoming will be your new home. Well, it's early in spring when we round up the doggies, mark them and brand them and bob out their tails, round up the horses, load up the chuck wagon, then throw them doggies right onto the trail. Whoopie-tie-I-oh, get along, little doggies, it's your misfortune and none of my own. Whoopie-tie-I-oh, get along, little doggies, know that Wyoming will be your new home.
Now some cattlemen hate sheep as much as a rustler.
Woollyback, woollyback, get back where you belong.
Some cattlemen would burn a sheep herder's wagon, saying woolybacks and cows don't get along.
Whoopie-tie-I-oh, get along, little woollyback, your misfortune and none of my own. Whoopie-tie-I-oh, get along, little woollyback, know that Wyoming will be your new home.
Now a sheep herder's life is lonely but busy, 'cause sheep like to wander, but a good dog can help.
He rounds up them critters like a cowboy does cattle. Soon we'll be raising both woolybacks and cows. Whoopie-tie-I-oh, get along, little woollyback, your misfortune and none of my own. Whoopie-tie-I-oh, get along, little woollyback, you know that Wyoming will be your new home. Whoopie-tie-I-oh, get along, little doggies, your misfortune and none of my own. Whoopie-tie-I-oh, get along, little doggies, you know that Wyoming will be your new home. You know that Wyoming will be your new home.
When white settlers first came to America, many of them were farmers. And if you were a farmer, you probably ended up handing your farm down to your son, who in turn handed it down to his son. In Wyoming, that's true with many of the ranchers. If you're a rancher in Wyoming, you'll probably end up handing your ranch down to your daughter or son, who in turn will hand it down to their daughter or son. This next song is about a grandfather that builds a fiddle. He hands it down to his son, who in turn hands it down to his son. It's a song entitled Rocky Mountain Fiddle.
Well, my granddad was a fiddling man. He could fiddle with the best. But he made a fiddle out of mountain wood, and then he put it to the test. Well, he played a waltz, a fast two-step, many an old foot down. Before he had died, he gave the fiddle to my dad, saying, "Here, son, pass it along." Rocky Mountain Fiddle, sitting on the back porch, picking with a banjo, dragging the bow, playing to the fast one with a lot of feeling, rocking and a reeling, baby, let it all go. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, playing at the barn dance, playing another hold down one we all know. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, I love it when you get down. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, won't you carry me home? My dad played that fiddle too, he loved to fiddle around. He taught me how to drag the bow and to get that lonesome sound. Well, he played 'em fast, he played 'em slow, he played in some backwoods bands. And now that fiddle that my granddad made is right here in my hand. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, sitting on the back porch, picking with the banjo, dragging the bow. Playing another fast one with a lot of feeling, rocking and a reeling, baby, let it all go. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, playing at the barn dance, playing another hold down one we all know. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, I love it when you get down. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, won't you carry me home? Rocky Mountain Fiddle, sitting on the back porch, picking with the banjo, dragging the bow. Playing another fast one with a lot of feeling, rocking and a reeling, baby, let it all go. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, playing at the barn dance, playing another hold down one we all know. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, I love it when you get down. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, won't you carry me home? Rocky Mountain Fiddle, Rocky Mountain Fiddle, won't you carry me home? Rocky Mountain Fiddle, Rocky Mountain Fiddle, won't you carry me home? Rocky Mountain Fiddle, Rocky Mountain Fiddle, won't you carry me home? Rocky Mountain Fiddle, I love it when you get down. Rocky Mountain Fiddle, won't you carry me home? Rocky Mountain Fiddle, Rocky Mountain Fiddle, won't you carry me home? Rocky Mountain Fiddle, Rocky Mountain Fiddle, won't you carry me home? Rocky Mountain Fiddle, Rocky Mountain Fiddle, won't you carry me home? Rocky Mountain Fiddle.
Wyoming is blessed with many natural resources.
Yellowstone, the first national park.
Devil's Tower, the first national monument.
The Shoshone Forest, the first national forest.
For many years, Wyoming was known as a livestock state featuring cattle and sheep.
Wyoming is recognized for its oil and gas exploration and the mining of minerals.
With the current focus on tourism, more and more people are visiting this beautiful state.
Two of the world's crown jewels have been preserved in Wyoming for generations to come: the Grand Tetons of Jackson Hole and Yellowstone.
Jackson Hole, what were you like so long ago? Before the red man and the white man first set eyes on your mountain. Jackson Hole, we are your friends and we want you to know. Stay this way forever, Jackson Hole. Yellowstone, you have always seemed like home. The fires will remind us of a balance that we must trust. Yellowstone, you'll still be here when we're long, long gone. Mother Nature will provide us with Yellowstone. Where would you be without those that protect your boundaries? Those that believe in preserving the wilderness ways. Those that say no, you can't build here, we set aside this place. God bless all the people that help to defend nature's way. In Jackson Hole, what were you like so long ago? Before the red man and the white man first set eyes on the mountain. Yellowstone, you'll still be here when we're long, long gone. Mother Nature will provide us with Yellowstone. Yes, Yellowstone, Wyoming's own.
Wyoming is known as the equality state because Wyoming was the first state to grant women the right to vote and the right to hold public office. Esther Hobart Morris lived up at South Pass City. She was the first woman justice of the peace and known as the mother of women's suffrage. There were 6 women in Laramie who were the first women in the world to sit on a jury. And in 1925, Nellie Taylor Ross became the first woman governor of a state right here in Wyoming. But think for a moment of the women who pioneered their way across the prairie. They traveled into unfamiliar territory, and they suffered losses of many different kinds. Well, more often than not, they turned their losses into opportunities. And that same strength of spirit is evident in the lives of most Wyoming women today.
The deeper the valley, the higher the sky, the steeper the mountain, the higher you climb. Face the rocky road, meet the desert dry, touch the barren tree. Now what of the cloudless sky? The wider the prairie, the bigger the dream. The taller the canyon, the bigger it seems. Face the rocky road, meet the desert dry, touch the barren tree. Now what of the cloudless sky? The deeper the ocean, the bluer the sea. The taller the redwood, more peaceful it seems. We face the rocky road, we meet the desert dry, we touch the barren tree. Now what of the cloudless sky, and what of a lullaby?
The word Wyoming derives its meaning from 2 Delaware Indian words meaning end of flats. And the flags of 6 different countries have flown over Wyoming before she was a state.
Wyoming became the 44th state to join the Union on July 10, 1890. And although Wyoming is blessed with many natural resources, perhaps her greatest gifts lie within those who live here.
There's a place up in the canyon where I dearly love to walk, where I can feel the breezes whisper and can hear the rivers talk. The river tells me how it was a long, long time ago. The Indian and the mountain man and the herds of
campfires, forgotten and long dead. The conflict over hunting rights between the white man and the red. The tale of bitter winters, of the winds that howled and moaned, and the men who made their livings in the mountains all alone. That way of life is over now. The trapper, he is no more. There are cities, there are ranches, there are people by the score. But if the Lord be willing, I'll still have a place to walk, where I can feel the breezes whisper and can hear the rivers talk. Blessed our father's dreams, Wyoming, where we've all got room to breathe. From the Teton so grand to our capital in Cheyenne, Wyoming, you're part of the USA. And we thank you for Yellowstone, so wild and free, for our backyards full of mountains and prairies. Wyoming, 100 years ago, Wyoming, we've watched you grow and grow, and it seems through the change you're still home on the range. Wyoming, you're part of the USA. sea. Wyoming, 100 years ago, Wyoming, we watched you grow and grow, and it seems through the change you're still home on the range. Wyoming, you're part of the USA. Wyoming, you're part of the USA. Spring and the fall were the trappers' best, 'cause the furs were rich and full. The summer was spent at the rendezvous, where the trapper would trade in his blues for the year's supplies he'd use. Jedediah Smith was another white man who trapped in the Wind River Mountains. He established South Pass across the Rockies out west. He was the first to cross the Sierra Nevadas. He pioneered the way to California. Trapping lasted best for 15 years, till the beaver lost its value. Men like Jim Bridger and Kit Carson quit and decided to guide for a living, bringing Easterners west to Wyoming. The trapper's life is a hard, hard life. Spend lots of time in the mountains, where laws are made with a gun and a knife, and the one who wins keeps a walking. That's the way life is in the mountains.